I'll be reading the lectionary scripture from Psalm 68, verses 1 through 10. Before I do that, I'd like to remind everyone again, our lectionary reading for this week and next week, printed on the back page of your bulletin. If you don't have a Bible study that you normally do, this might be a good way to get one started by taking this home and going through these during the week. But now the scripture from Psalm. I'll be reading this morning from the New Revised Standard Edition. Psalm 68, titled Praise and Thanksgiving. Let God rise up, let his enemies be scattered. Let those who hate him flee before him. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away. As wax melts before the fire, let the wicked perish before God. But let the righteous be joyful. Let them exult before God. Let them be jubilant with joy. Sing to God. Sing his praises to his name. Lift up a song to him who rides upon the clouds. His name is the Lord. Be exalted before him. Father of orphans and protector of widows is God in his holy habitation. God gives the desolate a home to live in. He leads out the prisoners to prosperity. But the rebellious live in a parched land. O God, when you went out before your people, when you marched through the wilderness, the earth quaked. The heavens poured down rain at the presence of God, the God of Sinai, at the presence of God, the God of Israel. Rain in abundance, O God, you showered abroad. You restored your heritage when it languished. Your flock found a dwelling in it. In your goodness, O God, you provided for the needy. This is God's word for us today. Amen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let me say happy Memorial Day weekend to all of you and to anyone who has lost loved ones in our service. We offer our condolences, but also our gratitude. I'm going to be reading from 1 Peter, the 4th chapter, the 12th through the 16th verse, and then I'm going to jump to 1 Peter, the 5th chapter, and I'm going to read verses 10 and 11. 1 Peter, 4th chapter, beginning with the 12th verse, and I'm reading from the New International Version. Dear friends, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you. But rejoice inasmuch as you participate in the sufferings of Christ, so that you may be overjoyed when his glory is revealed. If you are insulted because of the name of Christ, you are blessed. For the Spirit of glory and of God rests on you. If you suffer, it should not be as a murderer or thief or any other kind of criminal or even as a meddler. However, if you suffer as a Christian, do not be ashamed, but praise God that you bear that name. Chapter 5, verse 10. And the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm and steadfast. To him be the power forever and ever. Amen. This is the word of God. And the title is Saved But Still Suffering. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we pray, God, that you will diminish my spirit, that what is felt and what is heard and what is understood is a word directly from your lips to all of our hearts. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So typically, when I write a sermon, I have sort of a process, but it often gets derailed because I will start and then I will go cold. I will just not know what to do, and so I'll just take a break and watch a show or read something. But that was not the case with this sermon. I have never gone through a sermon as quickly as this, so I hope it works out. I wanted to start by talking about some misconceptions about salvation. Because there are misconceptions that we have, I think, as human beings in various aspects of our lives. One of the things that preachers, I don't know if we tell people this or not, but we often experience is that there's a lot of misconceptions about the things that people come to us about, like marriage, for example. There are misconceptions about what's going to happen after marriage. And if you've ever been in a marriage counseling session with a pastor, people will actually say to the pastor, well, once we become married, this is what's going to change. And the thing that always strikes me as odd is, I say this to people if I happen to be counseling them, and I say, well, let me ask you a couple questions. One, are you going to change after you get married? And they would say, well, probably not. And then I say, well, is your spouse going to change after you get married? And they say, well, probably not. I say, well, then what makes you think your circumstance is going to change? But the misconception exists because we think that with change comes infinite levels of transformation. That when you change something small, that it has significant repercussions. That just making this slight alteration will somehow change the entire environment. The truth about life is it doesn't work that way. And so I wanted to start by talking about misconceptions about salvation. Salvation is a transformative experience. There is no doubting that. But transformative is not the same thing as saying that everything in your life will change the moment you got saved. I got saved when I was a little boy at camp. I was not surrounded by my mother or my friends or my family other than my cousin who happened to go to camp with me that particular summer. And I was in a group. This was a Bible camp, and we had worship in a barn, and it was set up eerily like this, three rows. And we sat out in the crowd, and all the kids did, and I remember the pastor got up, and he was telling a story as part of his, I wouldn't really call it a sermon, it was more just like storytelling, and he told us a story, and then afterwards he said, okay, I want everybody in the congregation to bow your heads and close your eyes. And we did, and he said, okay, now this is serious, and I want you to listen. I want you to pay attention. Because some of you are going through some stuff right now, and you need it to be changed. This isn't about what your family is going through, what your mom is going through, what your dad is going through. This is about you personally. And so with everybody's eyes in here except mine closed, I want you to raise your hand if you do not have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And you know, then you have the tendency, especially as a kid, to peek. So if you're listening and you're thinking, trying to see if anybody else's hand goes up. I couldn't really see through the picture, so I just opened my eyes. And I see some hands. And that kind of gave me the courage to raise my hand. And I did. But I thought, now everything's different. He asked for the ministers that were there to come, approach, and individually take out all of the people whose hands were raised so that they could talk to them in the hallway. And so somebody came and grabbed me, and we walked out into the hallway, and he talked to me about salvation, and he got me to say a prayer, and I thought, man, it's all different now. Everything is going to be different. I'm going to go to school, and everything's going to go smoothly. I'm going to go home. There'll be no more problems. My parents will not yell at me anymore. This is awesome. I I have just changed my life. And then a funny thing happened, literally the next day. I got in a fight with a kid again. And I thought to myself, this salvation thing is broken. Because the very nature of salvation is that something significant is supposed to change. The environment is supposed to change. It's supposed to be different. How can I still be going through struggle and pain and suffering? How can I still be dealing with people lying on me and trying to abuse me and trying to assault me if I just got saved? I'm better now. The world is better now. Everything is better now. So here, I came up with 7. There are many more misconceptions about salvation. I'm sure you can think of them on your own. So I'm going to run through the list and then I'll talk about them. Number 1, the moment I get saved, I will be better. You were sinning and being sinful and being sin-minded and being wrapped up in your sin for an extended period of time, and you believe that on day 1 of salvation, you're going to be better. My hope is that at the moment you were saved, there is something at work in you that is changing your circumstances, changing your situation, that is going to make you a better person. But the reality is, if you would have cussed somebody out the moment before you got saved, because they did a certain thing to you, chances are that same thing, the moment after you got saved, will have the same results. The fact that somebody cuts you off on the highway and you lose it in your car, start speaking in tongues that are not appropriate, does not mean that you were not saved. But salvation is a process. God is working on you, which by definition means you're not finished yet. If at the very moment of salvation you were already finished, then chances are we would all have the same process. Born, get saved, die. There is no need for anything in between. Number 2, after I get saved, I will not be tempted to do wrong. Okay, not be as tempted to do wrong. The reality is those same vices, one of the things that is so extraordinarily frustrating about the devil is that he knows your vices. He knows the things that will get you to do the things you are not supposed to do. He knows exactly what to do to you on Sunday morning to keep you from coming to church. He knows what to do to you to keep you from having the right relationship with your spouse and your friends and your coworkers and your children. He knows what somebody needs to say to you to mess up your mood for the whole rest of the day. And sometimes you can see him come. Oh. Misconception number 3. I will be better equipped to resist temptation. Temptation is one of those things that is going to come. It came for every biblical character that you will read about. There is no one in the Bible, including Jesus Christ, who was not faced with temptation. The question is, how strong are you? How able are you to resist the temptations that come? And the truth is, salvation is a great stepping point. But make no mistake about it, there is work that needs to be done so that you can resist temptation. And the work is not as simple as, I got saved and I'm going to sit in this pew every Sunday and the power of God will be upon me so that I can resist all temptation. No, you have got to fortify yourself with the Word of God. You've got to be able to say that I studied, I read, I know, I saw by example, I lived a witness, I was in right relationship, I communicated with God so that when temptation came, it didn't even faze me. Misconception number 4, I will not get angry. I honestly say, and I think the greatest blessing of my life is my family. But they are also the ones who know how to make me the angriest the quickest. It is frustrating because I love them so much. And there are just times when I'm looking at them and I'm thinking to myself, remember that you love me. Remember that you love me. Because the anger, I feel it welling up inside of me, and I say to myself, when I'm saved, misconception number 5, I will not be sad. Sadness should go away with salvation. I've got the glory of God in me. God is joyful. God is full of praise. God is full of dance. So where is this sadness coming from? Misconception number 6, horrible things will not happen to me anymore. Probably the most common question that a preacher will get asked is something along the lines of, why do, if there is a God, why do good things, bad things keep happening to good people, and good things keep happening to bad people? Why would God allow that to happen? We're going to get to that one. And then, finally, the world will not get under my skin. I had to tell you, sometimes I feel like an alien. I tell my wife this sometimes. I just feel like I am out of place. I am surrounded by people in the world, and I'm saying to myself, how did I end up here? I am clearly of another world. They are saying things. One of the things about, as you all know, my mother-in-law likes to point out, I have an obsession with golf. I play golf all the time. And one of the things about golf is you're always meeting new people. If you're on the show up and they pair you with people and you're in a group and you go out and these are people you don't know, but they're representatives of the world, you think, and you say, and you go out into the world and they will say things and they will do things. And I will say to myself, really? That's so inappropriate. That is so unacceptable. What can I do about it? And then you say to yourself, you can't even say anything to it because you're in a group of 4. And all 3 of them are in on it. And you're the oddball. And you say to yourself, how did I get here? Where are my people? Where are they at? And you can't even find refuge all the time in the church. Because sometimes you come into the church building and them same golf-minded people are sitting in a pew next to you. So I thought about these misconceptions and I tried to put them in context. And I said to myself, what is wrong with us that we don't understand that salvation is a starting point? That salvation is how we get on the right path. That salvation is how we move in the right direction. But by definition, salvation does not mean you will not go through trials and tribulations. It does not mean you will not suffer. It does not mean there will not be pain. It does not mean you will not be angry. It does not mean you will not be frustrated. In fact, by definition, it means those things are coming for you. Because the greatest victory the enemy can have over you is for you to regret the fact that you are in right relationship with Jesus Christ. And the way he gets you to regret it is by showing up in your life with problems and misery and suffering and diagnoses and financial crisis and loneliness and starvation. And when he gets those things into your head, he can get you to start thinking, well, why did I get this salvation thing if everything is not the way I want it to be? You know, I realized I was thinking about, I read a book a long time ago, and I'm blanking on the title of the book, but I know it was by Vince. And I was thinking about the book because the book was about those t-shirts. You remember those t-shirts that say, I went to Japan and all all I got was this lousy t-shirt. You know, those shirts. And the book was about that, but it was about Christianity. And the book was like, I became a Christian, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt, something like that was the title of the book. And I was thinking to myself, that's our mental focus. That's the problem that we have, is that we got into this relationship with Christ. We found right relationship, connection with Christ, and when we look back and we say, well, what did we get because of it? Often the answer is a lousy t-shirt. I thought about that because my wife and daughter have those youth group shirts, the Micah shirts. I like those shirts. She said I had one too. It's like, man, I didn't even know I had one. Where's it at? I've never seen it. It's floating around the house somewhere. But I thought about it and I thought to myself, that's what's wrong with Christianity in so many cases. Is that at the end of the day, you signed up for something. You got in relationship. But the fruits of that relationship are materialistic. The fruits of that relationship are things like, well, I'm a member of the United Methodist Women. Yay. Well, you know, I go to church on Sundays regularly. Yay. Well, I stayed after church this Sunday and talked to somebody for 5 whole minutes. That is not the fruits of transformation. That is not the fruits of change. It is something that should be happening on the inside, not the outside. I don't mind if I go to church on a Sunday and all I am faced with is problem after problem after problem after crisis, because on the inside I'm feeling good. Every now and then I get migraines, I get really bad sinus headaches, I get this sinus pressure. It builds up so intensely that I literally need to go lay down somewhere, but I don't always get that opportunity. I had one yesterday, and I spoke, and I think that's why this sermon came so easily, is because God knew I needed to sit down. And I had one yesterday, and I was in the bed, and I was trying to I just like to lay still, take some medicine, lay still, and hopefully it goes away. And so I did that. I was laying still. But I got a 2-year-old. And so she came into the room, and my wife was there, and she said, leave Daddy alone, he doesn't feel good, let him rest. Leave him alone, he doesn't feel good, let him rest. 2-year-old was having no parts of that. So she came, and she climbed up on me. She tried to hug me, she wanted to make me feel better. I said, thank you. But then she said, you need to get up and go to the store and get me some snack bars. I'm suffering. I'm in pain. I am struggling. And my first instinct was just to ignore her. I'm just going to lay here until I feel better. And that's it. And she just kept at it. You need to get up and go to the store and get me some snack bars. And my wife was trying to pull her away. So finally, what did I do? I got up. I went to the store. And I got her some snack bars. And she told me as I was walking out, we need some milk too. So I got it. And I was thinking to myself, my wife said, you didn't have to go. All she was going to do was cry, and it wasn't really that big a deal. No, I didn't have to go, but there was no reason why I shouldn't go. And see, one of the mistakes that we make as Christians is that we use our suffering as an excuse not to be as involved in this relationship as we're supposed to be. The fact that you are going through something or you are suffering is not a reason not to praise God. It is not a reason not to magnify your relationship with Him. In the book that I mentioned, Vince writes the story of a little girl whose parents went to Florida and left her behind. He writes the details of the experience, how they drove to Florida and the things that they saw and the things that were happening in the car. And when they came back, they brought the little girl a t-shirt that said, I went to Florida and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. And they gave it to her. And he talked about her story. And he said, her story is sad. And the reason it's a sad story is because she missed the journey. She didn't get to go on the journey with her parents. And missing the journey is a big deal. And from his perspective, that's what's wrong with Christians. these fabulous stories about these characters in the Bible who have gone on these tremendous journeys, but the problem is you weren't a part of the journey. Nobody invited you to walk through the Red Sea on dry land. Nobody called you to throw you in the fiery furnace. Nobody put you in a lion's den. And so you don't know what those stories are like, and because you don't know what those stories are like firsthand, you got a sad story. Well, that's what Ben said. Anyway. He believes that Christians who have crossed his path, the ones that he has met, lost something because they did not have those stories to share. We are not characters like Moses. In a sense, we've missed those journeys. The truth is, we will not likely have stories like those to tell. I doubt anybody here will be telling the story about how they went to a wedding and there was this guy here turning all the water into wine. And that was the sweetest thing they ever tasted. You won't likely have the story that you were on a fishing trip and you saw a guy walking on the water and decided to get out your boat. These are the stories that the scriptures tell, and we don't have these stories, but it does not mean that we don't have stories of our own. Your story is in your suffering. It is the fact that you went through something and came out on the other side. It is the fact that you were delivered from a financial crisis or an emotional crisis or a physical crisis. It is the fact that you are no longer the person you used to be. That is your story. That's not sad. That's awesome. The fact that you don't cuss people out at the drop of a hat anymore, that's awesome. The fact that you don't lie on folks the way you used to, that's awesome. The fact that you don't steal or covet or whatever it is that your vice may be, the way you used to, that's an awesome story. So why do bad things happen to good people? So good people have something to talk about. Because if I can stand here and declare that I am good, even though my house burned down, I am good, even though I have to go through these migraine headaches. I am good, even though I am tired and fatigued. I am good, even when I am faced with financial crisis. I am good because the God who is the origin of all good dwells inside of me. And every time I start to go the other way, he taps me from the inside. He says, it's all good. Our scripture lesson is a letter. Peter writes to the Christians living in Asia Minor. And the Christians were suffering greatly. They were going through all kinds of pain, trials, and tribulations. They were being ridiculed and attacked. And he writes this letter because he didn't want them to lose hope. He wanted them to understand something very fundamental about relationship with Christ. You can't be surprised when things go wrong. I love how the letter begins, or the portion of the letter that I read begins. And he says, do not be surprised by yourself. You should not expect not to suffer. This suffering is not strange. It's not weird. The prophets in the Old Testament suffered. Moses suffered. Elijah suffered. David suffered. The disciples suffered. Peter suffered. Paul suffered. Even Jesus Christ suffered. suffered while they were yet faithful. Salvation doesn't mean things should get better. Salvation means you should start getting better. Despite the suffering, despite the pain, despite the trial. I don't know how you suffer. Perhaps it's illness that has a hold on you or someone you love. Perhaps financially you are struggling. Perhaps your friends have turned their backs on you, but I submit to you that whatever your story is, it can be epic. It can be your lion's den. It can be your Red Sea. And you can stand and face it while lifting your hand to God and praising his holy name because you are saved. Yes, you may still be suffering. And to the outside world, that may look sad. But that's not your story. Your story is that in the midst of your suffering, you still have peace that passes all understanding. In the midst of your suffering, you somehow still have joy. In the midst of your suffering, you have purpose and praise, and though your suffering may endure for a night, after you have suffered a little while, God will restore you and make you strong. And in that moment, you will see that suffering is not so bad when you know